Good morning, Anne-Marie.
We know that Canada's relationship with China has been tense. It was wrapped up by those 2024 tariffs on Chinese EVs, steel and aluminum products, and then China retaliated, as we just mentioned. But the Chinese ambassador to Beijing said that China wants to partner with Canada to push back against American bullying, is how they described it. Why would it make sense to remove restrictions on China, or what would need to happen for this relationship to improve?
This is an excellent question because, of course, China is the second largest economy on planet Earth, $19 trillion GDP, second only to the United States at 30 trillion. Huge market because no country is self-sufficient. China is no exception. They're the largest importer of natural gas, for example, huge importer of agricultural products. So to your question, we at Canada adopted the 100% tariff and to be in sync, if you will, with American policy. President Biden, not Trump, not here to defend Trump at all, but it was Biden who put the 100% tariff on EVs. And there's a reason for that. And I've been teaching in China since 1997, once a year in an MBA program. And I've ridden in many different Chinese EVs because my students pick me up at the hotel to take me to the class each day, and they take turns. And when you look at the IEA data, China has 60% world market share in EVs. Why? Because they're far less expensive and they're a better quality. And the American and the Europeans are not competitive in EVs. So that's why they put this tariff on. However, when you drill down, we are not making small EVs. I mean, the Chinese make a Seagull that's $15,000. And so the idea that it would be a threat to our auto industry is problematic because we produce overwhelmingly huge vehicles, 2-ton SUVs and, and F-150 trucks and that sort of thing. So, and as a consequence, we've alienated the Chinese and they've slapped significant tariffs on a sector that's very important to Canada, which is natural resources and agriculture. So there's the broad argument.
Well, let's bring agriculture into this discussion because, we've spoken with canola farmers who say they were frustrated that the federal government put this tariff on EVs, knowing that it would come back on them, and it did. So in order for this relationship to improve on the auto sector, what would canola farmers be calling for?
Well, let me just go back to the auto sector for a moment. I mean, President Trump has thus far, from the very beginning until now, has been consistent on one thing. He said the U.S. doesn't need our cars. They don't want Canada to make cars. And so there are very profound, serious questions of whether the car industry, manufacturing industry, will remain in Canada. The industry itself and former Prime Minister Trudeau said, if the 25% tariffs remain in place on the auto industry is finished. It's not sustainable. I agree with that assessment, by the way. We've got to start preparing for the day when we are maybe possibly going to exit auto industry. As horrible as that will be to people in Southern Ontario, Australia did it in the late 90s. It didn't devastate Australia. Australia is now higher average income per capita than we are in Canada. But we've got to start preparing for that day. And we've got to diversify, as we all know, our exports, such as, oh my goodness, agricultural exports to China. So that's one of the reasons, I think, why we've got to start looking at this and saying we've got to start developing alternatives to the United States to reduce our dependency on the United States. And a good place to start would be getting rid of those 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, which would make them much more affordable to Canadian consumers, enable Canada to achieve its GHG emissions targets.
The talks are happening this weekend between China and the U.S. There's astronomical tariffs being placed on each country by each other. What are you watching for this weekend from those talks?
I think both sides are going to blink, notwithstanding all the grandstanding and the posturing and the bellicose rhetoric from Mr. Trump, President Trump. It's in the mutual. I keep quoting Henry Kissinger, and he always used to talk about nations have interests, not friends. And it's in the strategic self-interest of the United States and China to come up with a deal that doesn't ruin both sides or cause great economic damage to both sides. This is why I think they're going to compromise, and they're going to come up with a deal. I mean, they're joined at the hip. I mean, China's the largest exporter in the world. Who's the largest importer in the world? The U.S. Who are they importing from? China. So, American consumers benefit from that, but so does the Chinese economy, enormously benefits. So both sides receive enormous benefits from the relationship with each other, and that's why I think it's inevitable they're going to eventually come to a deal, and I mean sooner, not years in the future.
Associate Professor at Carleton University Sprott School of Business, Ian Lee, always great to chat with you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie. Same to you.
All right, here's Lindsay with In Case You Missed It.